Alrighty, I think we're good to go. Can everybody hear me? Yay, that works. Galactic. How's everybody doing today? Doing good, I hope? Good, I like it when people behave. Makes me happy. All right, just going to go over the general disclaimer that we went through last time. Just be aware that there's certain topics that we can't discuss, so anything about appeals or any actions we may have taken or any information or outcomes of certain investigations, abuse reports, we cannot discuss that with you. But here to answer some questions. Just to do another general Q&A, so hit me with all your questions and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. All right, cool. Shoot. All in random order? That's fine. Hit me with your questions. Oh, my team doesn't handle any fraud stuff, so I can't really answer any questions based off of what the fraud team does. That's all. They do their own thing. But if you're talking about what you can view in your own transaction logs, you should be able to see any Lindens moving in and out of your own transaction logs, including if something was put back in there from us or taken out. I can't really speak to what they would do, but there should be some. You should be able to see it in your transaction log. But yeah, I don't think they would be able to tell you where it came from. Privacy policy stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's not my team that handles that. That's all the fraud team. We don't handle assessments for any funds that might come from compromised accounts and all that stuff. All right, what's your other question? No worries. I can't really speak for what they're exactly disciplined for. It's privacy policy stuff. Visitor trackers, so ones that say so-and-so has entered the region. We usually don't action on those. We're aware that they exist. We've seen many that track us when we're online, so people know when we pop on. But as long as they're not, so far we haven't come across any that are like, that really, really cross the line for us to slap them down. But in general, we usually don't get involved with those. And tip trackers who show who last paid. Yeah, those we don't really get involved either, as far as I know. I think I've only seen a couple of them. And no, Jason, if you have a object on your parcel that tells you when someone enters in, that's fine. But in general, the visitor trackers, all they do is tell you when someone has popped in, which is fine. Because honestly, anybody, if they have their mini map open, they can see who's there without an object telling you. So it's not really broadcasting anything new. It's all pretty public. You can tell when someone pops in, so it's fine. Yeah, just because someone says that they were a slap for something doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what they're a slap for. Again, I can't get into the details of why someone might have been actioned for something, because it's really an issue between us and that person. So there may have been other details that that we're only privy to, so it's between us and them. So yeah. But in general, visitor trackers are fine. Now, illegal implies that it's against the law. So a lot of things that are people say they're illegal, they're not really. It's just things that are against the terms of service are not really illegal. But if you're just tracking your store entries, that's fine. I don't see a problem with offering group invites as long as they have an option to decline and it doesn't get too spammy and all that fun stuff. But yeah, they're visitor trackers in general. They're fine.
Just real quick, for those that have never been in trouble, the governance team, when they send you an email about why you're being warned or suspended or even terminated, there is always a reason, and it doesn't quote just a section of the TOS. There is always a specific reason in the middle of all the paragraphs if the entire email is read.
Yep, yeah, whatever we do. And same thing with suspensions. We send very specific suspension notices that tell you exactly why you're suspended and stuff. So in general, if when we slap somebody for something, they know exactly why. And if they're confused, they can always write in an appeal, and we're more than happy to explain it to them further. But most of the time, people know exactly why we smacked them down. If you're not receiving an email, it might be something possibly blocking emails from us, but we do send them, so they should be going out when we do something. Let's see. Doesn't would be never permanently banned because of what they posted on a blog? Are you talking about an external blog or something they post on the forums? How? External? We don't action on. We can only action on things that happen on our service. Things that happen outside of Second Life, we have basically no jurisdiction to do anything with that. Whenever that happens, we'll get people like, oh, so-and-so said something about me on this blog, or they have my real-life information on this blog, and we can't do anything about that because it's not our service. So we always encourage them to reach out to that particular platform's particular abuse or support teams or whatever to get those taken down or get it flagged and all that fun stuff. But we depends on what they're on what it is. The governance team only terminates on or suspends and terminates on governance related things. There are other teams that do hold accounts, and like the fraud team, for example, they may hold or terminate for that, but they only do it for fraud-related things. We only do it for governance stuff. And of course, our IP team does different things. But in general, for like in-world, just general people being jerks, griefing, harassment, that kind of thing, those are things you'll see from our team for supporting suspensions and terminations. Yep, if we come across an AR that is definitely a fraud-related thing, we will escalate it on up to them, and they'll get it sorted out promptly. Though if you're reporting your own account being compromised, it's best to not put an AR on it and file a case. That way that gets settled out. But in general, anything else will escalate on over to them. Any other questions? You have a question on how to AR something. Anything in specific that you have questions about submitting the abuse report? Or just in general how to? Are they doing anything else other than possibly being a little creepy and asking questions? Because someone can come up to you and ask you all sorts of things, but it's up to the residents to choose whether or not they actually want to answer those. We leave that up to them. You know, use your own discretion with that kind of thing. Yeah, sure. If you want to talk to it privately, go for it. But yeah, in general, if they're just asking, "Hey, how old are you? Where are you from?" We usually don't get in on that unless, you know, it's up to you guys whether or not you actually want to answer those questions. But can't really slap anybody for asking the question, so to speak. But if there's more to it, I'd be happy to check it out. To user when they're being trained, you mean when they're going through all the new user experiences and stuff? I don't think we have anything specifically on that. It's kind of like I don't know, maybe like an unwritten rule of the internet. Just because someone asks you something, you don't have to tell them. We'll sometimes get abuse reports where someone will be like, this person's asking me all these questions, and they're kind of personal, and I don't feel comfortable answering them, and that's fine. If you don't feel comfortable asking or answering a question someone asked you, or even just talking to somebody, you don't have to talk to them at all. You can block them. You can not even speak to them ever again. That's all up to you guys. But yeah, it's just general, I guess, some sort of internet etiquette, you know. If you don't like what someone's saying to you or asking you, just don't engage with them. Any other questions anybody's got on their mind? Yeah, I would say that would probably be the best category for harassment and stalking. We unfortunately do come across people who kind of a little bit too attached to people and won't leave them alone despite, blocking. So if someone is constantly being hounded by somebody who just won't leave them alone and they've blocked them, they've done all they can on their end to just not talk to and engage with this person, and they keep trying to go around any blocks that they have, maybe contacting another account, that kind of thing, they can definitely report it and we'll check it out and see if there's anything we can do to help. And again, if they do feel like that their real life is being threatened, they need to contact their local authorities to pursue that further. No problem. Are we 24/7? We used to have 24/7 coverage, not so much. We are close-ish. We cover various points of the day and night. Not totally 24/7, but we are all over the week in time, so it can be a little unpredictable for the troublemakers to know when we're exactly on. But yeah, we get coverage for a lot of time slots and days, which is all I can really say about that. Tip trackers. If the person feels that there might be a violation in regards to the tip tracker, that person can file an AR and we can look into it further. I'd have to see exactly what the issue is that they have with them to see whether or not there's something we can do about it. But in general, if the effect, we always encourage that the affected party files the report instead of somebody else doing it for them. Sometimes we'll get people like, oh, this thing happened to my friend, so I'm going to report. We would rather the friend, the person who actually had it happen to them, report, so we can get all the information firsthand and do our proper review and investigation of what exactly the issue is.
I would also say that for tip trackers, if it's going to show a name you don't want your name to show, don't tip or give the Lindens directly to the person, and don't use the tip tracker itself.
Yeah, that too. Tip trackers in themselves are fine to use, but if like Tommy said, if you don't want your name up there, don't tip. Well, anything can be abuse reported. It's just whether or not it's something that we can action is the question. So people abuse report all sorts of things under the sun. But if you're ever not sure, you're more than welcome to file a report and we'll look into it. But in general, tip trackers, usually not an issue. Unless there's something else going on that we're not aware of. But like Tommy said, if you don't want your name up there, don't use the tip jar. Actually give it to the person directly. Shame on you, Mazadocs. As silly as AR, I probably can't give you specifics, but we get a few weird ones.
I can share my favorite one.
Which one?
He's peeing on me.
That one's a good one. I got that one the other day. That was kind of fun. Yeah, lots of I'm getting peed on. Those are always fun. Or oh man, there was one. What the heck? I'm trying to remember one that was particularly amusing. I can't think of it right now, but there was one not too long ago that was hilarious. But yeah, we get all kinds of stuff. Lots of variety of people, so you get a variety of weird reports, that's for sure. And disclosing your online status, that's another thing that we don't really action on. That's fine. It's not disclosing anything private. It's pretty easy to tell whether or not someone is online or offline. It's like no different than, say, on like Steam or any kind of other program where you interact with people. It's like so and so is online. So yeah, that's fine. Scrolling up to see if I missed anything, but if anybody else has any other questions, feel free to ask.
So, is my mic on? I think it's on. Okay. So to answer your question, Lucia, we can't ever give a definite yes or no. In general, tip trackers are not an issue, but we can't say that there isn't going to come a time where they're doing something they shouldn't. The average tip tracker, I don't see any issues with it. But we also won't encourage somebody from filing an abuse report if they feel like they have an issue with that tip tracker, so that we can investigate it and make sure that there isn't something going on. So you're not going to be able to get an outright yes or no, black or white answer. But for the most part, there's no issue with tip tracker.
Yeah, exactly. So, if I say, it's usually not an issue, but you're more than welcome to AR, that's basically what we mean. Usually they're not an issue, but people are creative. And so we're always happy to take a look and see if there is an issue, if anything does develop. But like Tommy said, in general, they're usually fine. If an estate, if someone who owns their own region or parcel bans someone from it, we don't track it. That's another tool that residents have at their disposal to keep people that they don't want coming in. So that's something we usually don't get notified of unless someone's like being a general jerk who's already on our radar for something else. Then we might notice them then, but in general, that's not something we are notified of unless they're doing something already that they're on our radar for something, or if they're being AR'd for something. In general, yeah, that's our main way of getting any sort of abuse reports and an idea of what's going on for any particular issues. Unless, of course, they come up while we're, investigating something else. That's always fun, but in general, yeah, AR. Yeah, it'd be nice if everybody was nice to everybody, but sadly, some people are just cranky. But, that's why we're here. To make sure that they're, not overstepping. So an abuse report is all separate from the symptoms. Basically, when you file an abuse report, what it does is once you've filled out everything, all it does is it puts in the name of the person you're reporting, your account name, so we know who's reporting, where you've reported it from, so it'll give us a SLRL to it, and then all the other additional information. I'm pretty sure it doesn't tie up with anything else, but it's just a way of giving us all the general information. But they're not really tied to sim state. What do people report it as a stalker? It really depends on what they're doing. We have some people who are just like, they're stalking me, and then we don't have like, there's like no evidence, we don't see that, they've tried to make any contact. Sometimes we just get people who are like, they're standing outside my window, and it's like, okay, I can't do anything with someone just standing outside your window. Unless it's your real life window, then you need to call the cops. But there's, if, like I said earlier, if you've already exhausted all of the tools available to you, like blocking, don't engage with them, make sure, all that's tied up, and they're still proceeding to try and contact you or harass you, feel free to file a report, and we will look into it and see if they are indeed being excessive with their need to want to, irritate someone who does not want to talk to them anymore, and it's clear that they're trying to harass them, then we'll step in and do what we need to. Do I even want to know what a fly tipper is? I have an idea. That's a really weird pencil image. Ah, I gotcha.
You guys know better. We aren't allowed to discuss any of our internal tools that we may or may not have.
Yep. We have a variety of tools internally, but we can't tell you what they are. We can't tell you, all the details about them. So, unfortunately, can't dig into that anymore. That depends on what kind of abuse we get. a lot of reports, and we do action a good number of them, depending on what's going on. Shall see you later, Adam. Thanks for stopping by. But you know, there are a lot of people who are in Second Life for years and years and never encounter any issues. You know, either because they're just in a nice circle of friends that doesn't cause any drama, doesn't get anything, you know, doesn't have anybody, you know, get a target on their back and that fun stuff, which is great. Other people aren't so lucky, unfortunately. But it just really depends on, you know, where you are, who you hang out with, you know, all that fun stuff. Or if you're just unfortunate enough just to be, you know, the victim of a straying, griefing thing, which happens sometimes. Someone will just get bored and they'll just be like, I want to hit up these regions. And we're like, no. We get about 15-ish minutes of my time here, so if anybody has any other questions, comments, thing you want to chat about, still got that going. Really depends how. Some things are clear enough for us that you don't need to actually, you know, specify which thing that they might be violating. We can usually tell whether or not what they're doing is something that we can action on to start with. The best thing is to like clearly describe what they're doing and get all that information in so we can jump into the investigation as soon as possible to determine whether or not, A, there is enough evidence that they are doing what they're supposed to be being reported for, and if that's something that we can action on. In general, the AR categories are usually get around general close enough to what they might be violating if we can confirm it. No problem. I just realized what your avatar is, Mazadoc. So I was like, that's a weird looking toothpaste tube. It's a very melted up aerosol can. Yes, there we go. Yeah, I was looking over, I'm like, what even? Just don't spray me in the face, please. It's a magnificent rooster. Sure, Chaser, what's your question? And as for copied content, if you feel that your content has been copied, stolen, being resold, all that fun stuff, without your permission, the content creator should file a DMCA. Usually when we do find those ARs, we will try and reach out to the reporter if it is their content and give them further instructions on how to do that. So the governance team doesn't take action on DMCA-related things. That is not a support issue. That is something that our IP team and legal team deals with. So that's not my team that handles that.
So filing an abuse report on copy-botted content merely gets a response from us educating you about DMCA and whether or not you're the content owner and that you need to file one as the content owner.
Yeah, and if you're not usually in that same thing, we'll say if you're not the content owner, to encourage the person who is to actually reach out and file the DMCA. So nudity on regions, if it is a moderate region, that's fine, and if it's an adult region, that's fine. The only difference with the moderate and adult regions with nudity is if there is any sexual content, so such as if you have a naked male avatar that might have an erection, that is not okay on a moderate region. They need to be in an adult region. And sometimes with certain regions, like say you'll have a moderate and adult region where someone will be like, there's no nudity allowed here. That's up to the people who run that general parcel or region to enforce that. But with general maturity standards, as long as you adhere to those standards, you're usually fine. So if you're naked in a G-rated region, we might have to educate you a little bit. So. I'd have to double check the maturity ratings on this, but I think those are, I think one of them at least is adult. So, in general, as long as no one's being grotesque, simple nudity on the appropriate region is fine. yeah, we're usually pretty careful with that, and make sure that, you know, the person actually is nude, and not just like not fully rendered, because that happens, and sometimes some people have some really disturbing looking avatars before they're fully rendered. I'm like, wow, that's terrifying. Some weird like skeletons and stuff. And another thing on nudity with G region, sometimes we'll get people who are reported for what I like to call kin dolls, where they don't have any bits. That's fine, because they don't have any bits. If there's no bits, eh. Oh god, the crab walk. I've seen that a few times on some things I haven't rendered fully. I'm like, oh god, this is made of nightmares. All right, looks like we have a couple more minutes left, so we got a little bit of time for some last-minute questions before I gotta skedaddle on. We do have ways of determining whether it might be rendered or maybe someone hasn't rendered in fully. But we do have ways of confirming whether or not someone is purposely just naked where they shouldn't be. We try to also take into consideration sometimes someone just maybe gets disconnected or they get ejected from somewhere and it just pops them into a region that's sometimes we'll see people who were in an adult rated region and for whatever reason they get kicked out, whether they're disconnected or whatever reason, and they pop back up in a completely different region, that's a general region that's not their home. And usually takes them a couple moments to realize that they shouldn't be there and then they leave. But we try, if it's clear that it's an accident and it's not just because their clothes haven't fully rendered in, or if they just happen to be teleported somewhere where previously where they were was fine, but now they aren't. We try and take that in consideration, and we'll try not to slap anybody who might be there, by accident. Yeah, there's nothing more embarrassing than attachments that don't attach. That can be fun. All right, so it looks like we've hit the top of the hour. That's all the time I have. Sadly, I gotta go run and stuff my face. But yeah, it's been nice talking to you guys. Keep an eye out on the user group wiki for the next time we do this. Which, if you guys don't have it, I have the link somewhere. It's lost in my tabs. Anyways, you guys know where to find me. Yep, every 2 weeks. If not, it will be updated on the user group page. There we go. Thank you. I have so many tabs. So the next one will be updated on there. If there's any exceptions or, I have to move the day, it'll be updated on there. But it should still, any changes will be up there. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. It's been nice talking to you. I shall see y'all next time.